Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't think the Fast and Furious could get crazy after the last movie, well, last couple movies, then you ain't seen nothing yet. Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson, and this is my review for Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs & Shaw, which is the 9th film in the Fast and Furious series and the very first spin-off. Even though I guess you could say Tokyo Drift was a spin-off, but let's just pretend that one doesn't exist. So either way, this is a spin-off of the Fast and Furious, and it follows this genetically enhanced super soldier, Brixton, played by Idris Elba, as he's after some sort of disease or formula that could possibly wipe out half of humanity, because, you know, Infinity War happens, so of course we gotta rip off that plot point. But the one person who's keeping him from getting this formula is an MI6 agent played by Vanessa Kirby, but she can't do it alone. And her reinforcements come in the form of Luke Hobbs, played again by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Deckard Shaw, played by Jason Statham, who also happens to be her older brother. So the three of them embark on this mission to try to stop Brixton, save humanity, and be funny and cool all at the same time. So it seems like ever since Fast and Furious came out in 2009, 10 years ago, we've been getting one of these movies every 2 years, and they just seem to keep escalating in terms of being just totally insane crazy. I mean, this is the 9th movie, so at this point, it's either your thing or it's not your thing. I said that in my review for Fate of the Furious, but I will say this. Going back to Fate of the Furious, I like that movie less and less, because while it's got some really great action and has some cool moments here and there, the plot with Vin Diesel and Charlize Theron is awful. They ask you to take that seriously, like it's a real heavy drama, but you just can't, because it just doesn't line in with the rest of the series. The only saving grace of Fate of the Furious was Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham. These two guys understand the tone of the franchise, and they realize that it's goofy, and they embrace the goofiness. And Dwayne Johnson alone has made a big splash within this series since he debuted in Fast 5, to the point where if you tell Fast and Furious fans that if you had to lose Vin Diesel or Dwayne Johnson, who would you get rid of? People will actually say you gotta get rid of Vin Diesel. I know Vin Diesel kicked off this franchise, he's the main star, but come on, why would you get rid of Dwayne Johnson? That's just stupid. And given that he and Jason Statham were the best parts of the last movie, you knew it was only a matter of time before they eventually got their own movie. And I like this much better than Fate of the Furious, because this is straightforward an action buddy comedy. And the big thing that works about this movie is the dynamic between Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham. These two actors work well on screen, they have great chemistry, they have some funny one-liners here and there, they make jabs at each other and insult each other throughout a lot of the movie just for comedy's sake. In fact, they take so many jabs at each other and go to the point where they insult each other in great detail that it actually results in one of the gayest action movies I've seen in a long time. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Gayer than Too Fast, Too Furious? It could be up there. Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw are just this close to making out, because there are scenes when they insult each other where they're describing their faces, their body physiques, and it's just ridiculous. But I will say that if we're going to compare unintentionally gay Fast and Furious movies, this one is miles better than Too Fast, Too Furious. Everything else after that is exactly what you'd expect from these kinds of movies. The plot is just paper thin. It really serves no purpose other than to get our characters from point A to point B and to deliver on some really cool action sequences. And the action scenes here are very much a lot of fun. This is directed by David Leitch, who directed Deadpool 2 and was a uncredited co-director for the first John Wick movie, and he really has an eye for fantastic action. Even though a lot of it is big, bombastic, CGI heavy, and even though gravity can never be found anywhere in this movie, or hell, the entire franchise, it's still inventive, it's still action-packed, you're still on the edge of your seat, It's a lot of fun. Now, in terms of your supporting cast, I mentioned you have Idris Elba as the villain, and he looks like he's having a lot of fun as well. Because he's an enhanced super soldier, he has some really badass moments. He can do things that no regular human can, even though I'm starting to really question whether every character in this movie, starting with Fast 5, is actually human. But unlike all the other characters, he has the one line that really shows that he's more than human. Look at me, I'm Black Superman. And that one line just puts this entire franchise into perspective of, yeah, this is Universal's superhero franchise, because at this point, these characters are superhuman. They can fall several stories off of skyscrapers, crash through glass without breaking any bones. They can go through glass without getting any cuts. They are just really superhuman. And the reason I give this movie and most of the series a pass is because they embrace the stupidity. With this movie embracing the stupidity that it does, and with having Jason Statham in the movie, I feel like this is the movie where Jason Statham finally got to make Crank 3. Now, it's not as crazy as the Crank movies, especially the second one, because this is crazy in the sense of it's a big, explosive summer blockbuster. The craziest thing you'll get are tons of explosions and really bizarre stunts using CGI. Crank is crazy in the sense that it has very bizarre camera angles, it has this frenetic editing style, and because of a lack of money, they get really creative with those movies. And with this movie being what it is, a big, giant summer blockbuster with lots of explosions, again, that might not be appealing to some people. Although I will say that maybe this is a more accessible movie to those who weren't fans of Fast and Furious. For better and for worse. Now, for better because it doesn't rely on street racing. You don't really need to see any of the other movies to understand the characters and what they're about. Because really, when you get right down to it, as much as I love these two guys, Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham are playing themselves. Now, where this is the most accessible movie in the franchise for the worse is that this really doesn't feel like it belongs in the same world as the other Fast and Furious movies. Now again, I know with Fast 5 and beyond, the movies have just gotten balls to the wall insane in terms of physics and action, but they at least had elements that brought them back home. And this movie really tries to bring in the theme of family that the franchise is well known for, and sometimes it works, but other times it's just kind of there to go, see, we're in the same universe. Now, I forgot to mention Vanessa Kirby, who plays Shaw's sister, Hattie. She's really good in the movie. She has charisma, not quite on the level of Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, but she can carry her own. She works really well in the action scenes, although there are a few points, just a few points throughout this movie where you don't quite buy her on the same level of an action star the way you would Michelle Rodriguez in the other movies. Again, there are a few moments where she delivers on the action scenes, but she just doesn't look quite as tough as some of the other women that have come before. So to wrap things up, I had a blast with this movie. It's probably in my top 3 or 4 Fast and Furious movies, up there with the first, 5th, and 7th movie. But I honestly don't know how people will react to this, because the Fast and Furious movies with 5 and beyond have just been insanely stupid, but they've gotten much better reception than the first 4 movies have. So I'm really curious to see where this falls in line and see if I'm in the majority of people that like this movie or if I'm in the minority. So with that being said, I'm just going to give this the same rating I gave every Fast and Furious movie I've reviewed on this channel so far, good but not great. But this is definitely one of the more enthusiastic good but not greats that I've given. Yes, definitely more than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but those are 2 different movies. You can't compare them. Again, make no mistake, Hobbs & Shaw is stupid, it's bombastic, it's loud, but there's great dynamics between your leads. The action scenes, while stupid, can be very creative at points. It's thrilling. I like the score of the movie. And even though the trailer pretty much showed all the plot points of the movie, just like the trailers for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom did, there are a few surprises in here. There are 2 cameos in this movie that I did not see coming, and nobody will see coming a mile away. One of the cameos I thought was really funny. The other one, while funny, started to get on my nerves after a while. And both the people making cameos in this movie felt like they were doing a favor to a couple of people involved in this movie. So the jury's out on one of those cameos, but there are definitely a few surprises in this movie that are not spoiled in the trailer. So I had a fun time with this movie, and again, if you're not a Fast and Furious fan, this could be more accessible than the other movies, but if you know you're not into big, loud, bombastic action movies, then this isn't for you. And there you go. That's my review for Fast and Furious, Hobbs & Shaw. Now, before I go, I wanted to mention that last week, I was on Meet the Movie Press with Simon Thompson and Scott Menzel. I've been on Popcorn Talk a couple times on the show formerly known as LAOFCS Weekly, now renamed to Film Critics Weekly. But I appeared as a guest panelist on Meet the Movie Press, where we talked about the Marvel Phase 4 slate, Zombieland 2, and some other bits of movie news. So you can go to the Popcorn Talk YouTube channel, check that out. I even have a playlist of any time that I've appeared on another YouTube channel, so you can definitely check that playlist. And I have a few more announcements coming up in the future, so definitely keep your eyes open for that. I want to thank you guys for all your support. And now I want to know what you guys think about this movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? What are your opinions on the Fast and Furious franchise overall? And what do you think about them spinning off with these two actors? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and of course leave a comment. Don't forget to support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.